July 14th. And we'd ask if you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, then remain standing for a moment of silence. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, if you would go ahead and take the roll, please.
Councilmember Kern. Here. Councilmember Mosley.
Here.
Councilmember Motney.
Here.
Councilmember Dannenberger.
Here.
Councilmember Straza.
Here.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Scott. Here. Mayor Brady.
Here. Thank you. Recognition and appointments. Next, we have a couple proclamations, I believe. Parks Department would like to step forward, please. Thank you. A proclamation for the Parks and Recreation Department reads as follows. The proclamation is recognized in the city of Bloomington as, the proclamation is for the city of Bloomington's vital role that Parks and Recreation play in promoting health, well-being, environmental sustainability, economic prosperity, and community resilience. Parks offer opportunities for physical activity, mental health benefits, childhood development, and connection with nature. In alignment with the U.S. House of Representatives designation, I, Mayor Dan Brady, proclaim July as Parks and Recreation Month in the city of Bloomington. And Director Thiel, you've got some of your team members with you, and if you'd like to have a few minutes. Thank you.
We do. Thank you, Mayor, Council, City Manager. If our team members behind us could stand, please. Thank you. Tonight we have Dave, Stephanie, Jason, James, Holly Taylor, Cody, Jill, Tom, Michael, and Neil. And in order to keep it semi-brief, even though this is an exciting thing for our department, we do special activities on top of the hundreds of programs that we are currently providing for the summer families and children. And Jill Eichholz, one of our program managers, is going to share that with you real quick.
Couple things that are going on in July, just to highlight specifically for the Parks and Recreation Month, is upcoming this Sunday is Popsicles in the Park. It is a free event, inclusive and accessible to all, out at White Oak Park. A lot of family activities. We are going to have a band, so there's going to be live music, of course, popsicles. And then one thing that's been going on all of June into the beginning of July is we've been holding a photo contest. The basic rules were it needed to be within the date range within a Bloomington park. There was nothing else, and we are currently in the midst of voting to award the winners for that. The top winner is actually going to get featured on the cover of our fall brochure, which is going to print here pretty soon. So those are the two to highlight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you'd like to step forward, we'd like to present you with the proclamation from the city and thank each and every one of you and all your team members that are here tonight that couldn't be on behalf of a grateful city. Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you all once again. Next, I believe we have a proclamation recognizing the city of Bloomington as the first city in Illinois to become a partner in peace with the Center for Prevention of Abuse, as requested by Carol Myrna. And the proclamation reads as follows. Recognizing the city of Bloomington as the first city in Illinois to become a partner in peace with the Center of Abuse, having met the certification requirements of 1, training 75% of full-time staff on human trafficking awareness and preventions, implementing a formal anti-trafficking policy, establishing a reporting protocol for staff to follow, and passing an ordinance amending the city code pertaining to massage establishment licenses administered by the city clerk. And on behalf of the membership that is here from your team, Ms. Carol Myrna, if you would go ahead and please enlighten us. And thank you again for the honor bestowed upon the city of Bloomington.
Thank you so much, Mayor Brady. Thank you. Members of the City Council, City Manager Jurgens, other valuable city staff and friends. Thank you for granting me the opportunity to stand before you today as the CEO of the Center for Prevention of Abuse. I do want to acknowledge that we have 5 of our 150 staff that are with us tonight. They are leadership staff and 2 members of our board of directors, including our chairperson, Andrea Totora. I want to acknowledge them and thank them because they're here to celebrate our shared work to build a safe and peaceful community. It's a privilege to report to you on a matter that we find to be of the utmost importance, the certification of the City of Bloomington as a partner in peace, and to provide that certification to your team as human trafficking awareness and prevention trained. The subject of human trafficking, though difficult, is one that demands our unwavering attention, collective resolve, and proactive action as public servants and as members of an engaged community. The City of Bloomington has risen to the occasion. As I have often said during these trainings, the City of Bloomington cares. Tonight, I'm delighted to announce that a vast majority of city staff, more than 75% as stated, has completed a comprehensive specialized training program in human trafficking awareness and prevention. Additionally, the City of Bloomington, as stated, has established an official reporting protocol so that the team can easily report what they witness. As a city, you've also implemented an anti-trafficking policy internally, and as a council, you worked through a thoughtful and meaningful discussion about creating an ordinance to safeguard against illicit massage businesses. Each of these accomplishments or milestones, human trafficking is often described as a hidden crime lurking in the shadows, even in the most vibrant communities. Its victims are not confined to distant places or unfamiliar faces. They can be our neighbors, our coworkers, our youth, and the most vulnerable among us. Collectively, meeting these 4 important goals is a powerful statement that the City of Bloomington has a commitment to safeguarding every resident, every individual, preventing exploitation, and fostering a culture of vigilance and compassion. It's often said that knowledge is power, and nowhere is this truer than in the fight against human trafficking. It is with deep gratitude and pride that I stand before you to reflect on and celebrate an achievement that is all at once humbling and inspiring, the City of Bloomington's distinction as the first ever recipient of the Partner in Peace certification from the Center for Prevention of Abuse. You are setting a fine example for municipalities across our state and region, and we have a line waiting to be trained, and you are first. CFPA invites other cities and even organizations to join us in this endeavor, to share knowledge, resources, and best practices, and to build a coalition of communities unified against human trafficking. To the City of Bloomington as a whole, thank you for your leadership and for supporting the Center for Prevention of Abuse's efforts. We are now partnered by a common goal, and we are looking forward to continuing to work together to offer hope and restoration to all those impacted by this crime. May peace, real, enduring, and shared peace continue to guide us in our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. How about a nice round of applause for that accomplishment for the city? And Carol, if you'd step forward, we'd like to present you with the proclamation on behalf of Bloomington and the Bloomington City Council and all citizens. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. There you go. There you go. Get next to you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all. Next, Madam Clerk, public comments.
Yes, we just received one emailed public comment that was from Renee Nestler, and it was provided to council earlier today. And we have one person registered to speak. That'll be Chris Taylor after you make a statement.
Great, thank you. Public comment, ladies and gentlemen, is an opportunity for speakers to provide their views and feedback to the City Council. It's also an opportunity for the City Council to listen and hear diverse points of view, to maximize the impact of public comment and show respect for the expression of all views. Speakers should maintain civility, and focus on city issues. Speakers must identify themselves for the record, but are not required to give their address. Each speaker is given the floor for 3 minutes, and the council does not respond or engage in debate. Any speaker that engages in threatening or disorderly behavior will be deemed out of order and their time ceased. So, Madam Clerk, if you call the first speaker.
Chris Taylor, if you could come forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Taylor, and my address, I do live in the 1500 block of West Locust, and I had a couple questions about that. Thank you for this opportunity. We received a letter 2 weeks ago talking about that block going to no parking on the north side of the street. And any questions or comments on this letter were referred to District 5 of IDOT, contacting multiple people there before I could get a hold of anyone that knew what I was talking about. They informed me that it was a city issue and not a state issue, since that's Route 9. But the problem that we're seeing there is the main problem. Anyone that lives on the west side or goes on the west side of Bloomington knows the project that was done on Market Street, because it took a while. And now there at Market and White Oak Road, you can no longer, driving east, turn left onto White Oak Road. So the semis are all being directed to Henshaw Street to turn left, and then turn left and come down a residential neighborhood through Locust Street to gain access to White Oak Road. And I was told part of this problem was the backup on the railroad tracks there in front of the DMV. 3 semis of that stoplight, you're still backed up the tracks. Not to mention you have Holton Homes right there with all these children going back and forth to school to Sheridan, back and forth to O'Neill Park. And now you have all these semis going through that area. All the families that have lived on that block that now can no longer park, plus all the traffic that's coming down White Oak Road that can no longer turn left onto Market, is coming up Locust Street. So we have more traffic going that way. I just wasn't aware if anyone considered the possibility of the semis and everything coming off the interstate onto Market, why they're not being directed onto Martin Luther King, which is a 4-lane road through an industrial area that ties right into White Oak Road. I didn't know if that had been considered, or when I brought that up to the person I spoke to with IDOT, the silence on the phone spoke volumes. You could tell like that was a great idea. Why wasn't it considered? I didn't know if there was still time to consider the no parking. They started tearing up lines today and moved them literally like 12 inches closer to the north side to provide more room for parking on the other side. I don't know if that was something that could still be reviewed, especially with all the kids that are in that area.
Chris, if you need a little more time.
No, I'm
20 seconds,
I
okay.
think I'm pretty good.
Being the comments I just read, that we're not going to respond right now.
Sure, I
But
understand.
we will certainly take it under advisement and ask staff to look at what you've talked about here tonight.
That'd be great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
There's no further public comment.
Thank you. Next, I believe we have any other members, individuals for public comment?
No, there's no further public
Okay.
comment.
Then I believe we have staff presentation.
That's right, public hearing.
At this time, we're going to have a presentation from the Community Impact and Enhancement Director, Cordell Patrick, and members of your team. Go right ahead, sir.
If we could just call the public hearing to order in the time.
We're going back into order now from the public comment, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, city manager. Tonight, Joni and I, we have the honor of presenting the city's, what I would call report card of our community development block grant funds for program year 24. Next slide. Next slide. So the CDBG program, Community Development Block Grant Program, provides funds to provide assistance to low and moderate income persons. Also, it is to prevent or eliminate slum and blight conditions and meet urgent community needs. The city of Bloomington is what is called an entitlement city. What that means is that we don't have to apply for these funds, but we receive these dollars on an annual basis from United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Next slide. So for program year 2024, I do want to point out that the CDBG program year is different than the city's fiscal year. So the program year is May 1st through April 30th. And so the projects that I'm going to be presenting on tonight are projects that were achieved between May 1st, 2024 through April 30th, 2025. So we just ended the program year 24 year, and so now we're starting program year 25, and I'll touch on that just a little bit shortly. And so tonight we're providing a snapshot of how we perform, letting the public know exactly what we did with those funds and how those funds added value to our neighborhoods. In program year 2024, which we just ended again, April 30th, the city is spending over $700,000 in community development block grant funds. Next slide. So what are some of the key accomplishments as it relates to rehabilitation? The city, we did 13 affordable housing units as it relates to repair or rehab. I really wanted to shout out the grants manager and his team who can't be here tonight for the work that they've done. They've worked very hard on this over the last 12 months. 3 of those housing units we assisted with lead. 3 we did emergency repairs. And so those are repairs where, let's say, elder person's furnace goes out in the middle of the winter. We consider those as an emergencies and try to get those repairs done within 48 hours. 7 of the 13, we just did general rehab work. That can be anything from replacing a roof to putting new windows, new siding, new doors. Again, how do we make that home sustainable over the next 10 plus years? We did do 1 sewer and water service install. This was a partnership with Habitat for Humanity so that a new unit could be built on a vacant property. And so we installed the water and sewer for that new unit. We've also done, in partnership with the Public Works team, sidewalk improvements in West Bloomington, which was completed. We have one that is starting on Wood Hill Towers right now. Of those projects, the sidewalk projects, those projects impacted over 1,300 residents, and 1,100 of those being low to moderate income individuals. What that means is that we did enough sidewalks, and we'll be doing enough sidewalks in front of houses to cover 1,300 people in the city of Bloomington, which is fantastic. Next slide. Of those 13 projects, 84% of those projects was done in the regeneration area, in the preservation area, which was called out in the comp plan. These are areas that have the most need for these type of funds and services. 69% of the projects were done in the regeneration area, which is one of our most challenged neighborhoods here in the city of Bloomington. Next slide. Some of the work that can be done with CDBG funds, that we've done with CDBG funds, I won't go through them all. You see them on the screen. But windows, electrical systems, roof and sidings, all things that we can try to do to make sure that we can keep individuals in their home. The CDBG funds are really used to help preserve existing housing stock. As I mentioned before, the most affordable home is the home an individual live in now. And so how can we keep them in those homes longer and make sure that they can age in place in the neighborhoods that they grew up in? Next slide. Just some before and after pictures, some of the work that was done. This is a house that was, for the most part, was completely rehab. individual will be able to live in that home probably until the end of their life at this point. Next slide. This is a bathroom upgrade. Again, this is not HGTV. I do want to point that out. When we do work inside of homes, we do work inside of homes because that work needs to be brought up to city code. And so this is a situation where we need to bring a bathroom up to city code for the health and safety of the homeowner. Next slide. Some of the other key accomplishment, again, I will have to say that, you know, without the many partners that we have, this work wouldn't be possible. And so 233 community members served by Home Sweet Home Ministry Outreach Program in program year 24, I'm sorry. 655 served by West Bloomington Revitalization Project, 284 members served by Partners for Community in their Recycling Furniture for Families program, and 129 served by KTB Financial Services. Again, these are partnerships that we provided grants to these nonprofits to be able to provide these services, much needed services to low and moderate income individuals in our community. Next slide. Also, I would say over 80 community members with housing choice vouchers or residing in public housing participated in career training. Again, how do we make sure that we have a workforce component to the work that we do? And so getting those individuals ready for our workforce. We provided assistance to Prairie State Legal Services as well as McLean County Regional Planning Commission, who also partners with us to help us with a lot of the data that we need to make sure that we're making informed decisions. Next slide. Expanding activity by category, housing rehab, 52% of the funds went to housing rehab, 3% to new affordable housing support, public services, 12% public facility infrastructure activities. Again, that's the sidewalk stuff for the most part. 23% of the funding was on that. In housing, legal services, community planning, workforce, about 7%. We do have to make sure that we can cover the expense internally for administering the program, which is only 3% of the total amount of funds we receive in program year 24. I will say that, again, 69% of the total income that we use, or grant funds that we use for CDBG in program 24, 69% of those funds went towards housing rehab. Next slide. We have, again, ended this program year, starting a new program year. Right now, we have our CAPER out for public comment since last Monday. It will be available until July 22nd for the public to comment on. After it is commented on, we hope to approve and start work for program year 2025. I will yield back to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there public input, clerk?
We had no one registered to testify at the hearing, but if anyone didn't get to register and would like to come forward, they could. For the record, just showing none.
Okay. Seeing none, then we will move on to council. And if anyone in the council has questions or comments. Member Ward.
Thank you for this report, Mr. Patrick. It was illuminating and helpful. I'm curious, you mentioned the rehab of housing. Were any of those funds that were spent on demolition of derelict housing, or is that not part of this?
Yeah, so we did demo, I think, one, maybe two properties in program year 24 with CDBG funds. I would tell you, using CDBG funds for demolition is very difficult. It's very time consuming. But we did manage to demolish, I think, two of those for Habitat for Humanity, if I'm not mistaken, so that we can prep those lots for new homes to be built on.
And looking forward, you and I have had some conversation, and the whole council has had some conversation about the numbers of of houses that are on the list and trying to catalog and figure out what the status of those properties are. Can you give us, just for the record, a update on where things stand with that process?
Yeah, so we're done doing some of the foundation work. Foundation work meaning that we have a list to start from, so we're cleaning up that list. We're having code enforcement to go out and actually put eyes on those properties to confirm whether or not they are vacant or not. And also the status of do they believe they are demo candidates, or if they can be rehabbed. I'm gonna say, it's probably gonna take us another 4 to 5 days or so to get through that, to be able to bring something back to council to consider.
But future CDBG funds could go potentially to rehabbing those properties or assisting with the demo if necessary.
I don't know that, and I'm looking at Joni, I don't know that CDBG funds can be used to rehab vacant properties. I know it can be for owner occupied properties.
Thank you.
Other members of council? Questions
Yes.
or comments?
Yes.
Member
thank you.
Scott?
Yes, I echo those thoughts of just how much I appreciate this work, et cetera. It's sustainable housing, something that certainly comes up over and over and over again, so I appreciate that work. You mentioned this comes from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. And my question is something that's been asked of me. So given that there has been news about federal cuts specifically to HUD and then specifically to this grant, will that affect us here in this work?
So I would say not for this program year. So for program year 25, which is now through April 30th of next year, the city has received its entitlement funds, which is about $700,000. So for the next 12 months, we have funding to do this work. What happens after 12 months? I guess we'll have to wait and see what the federal government decides to do. But this work is critical to our success. And just my professional thought here is, if whether it's funded by the federal government or not, I think we should figure out how we continue this work in some shape, form, or fashion. I will point out, and Jeff or Billy may want to speak to this. We have been talking very closely with our federal lobbyists and keeping up with what's happening on the federal level as well. And I think for the most part, most believe that CDBG funds will be around.
Other members? Questions or comments? Okay. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Anyone else? Welcome. Step forward.
Thank you.
If
No
not,
one else has come forward.
then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:28 PM and move back to the consent agenda. Members of the council will move then to consent agenda. And are there any members of the council who have an item from the consent agenda that they wish to pull at this time to come back and discuss?
Yeah, can I pull
Hendricks.
8K, please? I think that's the Market Street Garage.
Okay. That was 8K, right? We will pull that from the consent agenda and hold and come back. Any other members that have any item that they wish to pull from the consent agenda? If not, can I have a member that will make a motion and then seconded to accept the consent agenda minus 8K, which we'll come back to?
I make a motion to, with the exception of 8K being off the consent agenda.
Member Straza,
Second.
seconded by Member Dannenberg. Vote. Take the record. Thank you very much. Then we'll move back now to Member Hendricks and your question regarding item number 8K. Councilman?
Yeah, I just wanted to see if we could get an update from city staff. I know that this garage is a frustration for all parties included. And I hear, obviously with it being in my ward pretty consistently, and we see the concerns with the blocks of wood, keeping it up and everything. So could we get an update on the status of the garage, and also really an update on, we're waiting really for Connect Transit. with us in partnership to move forward on the demolition and the construction of the transit center there. Can we get an update on where that stands as well?
Absolutely. As you noted, the condition of the garage continues to deteriorate. We are not ready for it to come down yet, so we are hoping to, through this, going to a monthly inspection, and we are going to have to put some repairs into it. We're working through that process right now to determine what all those are going to be, but hoping to keep that garage open for a few more months. Then we are also on the side of that, we're working with Connect Transit to work on a new proposal that would see them take that land, redevelop that into the new downtown transfer station, but with a number of parking spaces dedicated to the public. So we're working on that proposal. I expect to have more information back on the latest on that later this week, and hopefully have some sort of an agreement before the council yet this summer.
So we're hoping to keep the garage open. You said a couple more months. Do we have an idea of?
No, I think actually probably it's going to go into 2026 when if everything goes to fruition, that garage would come down and we'd have the agreement worked out with Connect Transit. So I think we're probably more than just a couple of months trying to keep the garage open for a while, again, until we get some other parking for the downtown in place as well. So I know nobody likes to put money into this garage. We're trying to make sure it's safe and keep it open until we can get some other parking options in place.
Does that answer your question, sir? Member Ward?
I can wait until there's a motion on the floor,
Okay,
or I can now.
I'll make a motion to approve.
seconded? Okay.
Second.
Seconded by Member Scott. Okay. Member Ward?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how many years ago, but it's been 2 or 3 years that we had this same conversation and threw $250,000 at this thing. And I didn't support it then, and I can't support this in good conscience now. You know, putting another $80,000 feels like just throwing it down the toilet. And I don't know what options there are out there in terms of how that $80,000 could be better spent. Frankly, it seems to me like giving people some vouchers for parking spots if it's a concern for downtown business owners, looking into surface parking elsewhere. I just feel like this is just throwing good money after bad, and we'll be right back where we are in another year, another 6 months, whatever it is. And I just can't support that.
I have a follow-up if I could.
Yes, go right ahead.
So if members tonight deny this motion, City Manager Jurgens, could you explain what that would look like?
Yes, and also the $80,000 unfortunately is just the beginning of, this is just for the design and the inspections. The repair work is likely to exceed 6 figures. If this were to be denied tonight, we would look at, and I'm going to look to Deputy City Manager Sue McLaughlin, who's been helping with this. We'd probably be looking at shutting the garage and trying to figure out parking at other locations. Again, we were hoping to do this to have a few more concrete options in place before that garage actually came down. This is just giving it some more life to get through a little bit longer lifespan. Sue, anything you would add to that?
No, the other thing I was saying, we're under quarterly inspections right now. And because it's deteriorating faster, that's why they're asking to go to the monthly. So that would also either keep doing the quarterly, close spaces, or close the garage in its entirety.
Any other member with comment?
Yeah, I
Remind.
just wanted to ask, what's the daily parking volume there?
I believe we have 250 or so. Billy, is that your understanding?
Yeah, that's what's leased.
Now, are those contracted spaces, or are those actually 250 cars a day that are actually parking there?
Those are the number of leased spaces, it's not a count of who's actually parking in the garage.
So there could actually be more, but we have 250 people that at least have a lease spot for the garage.
Well, I guess, and my point is, we don't know how many it is. It could be a lot less than that. I mean, people may be choosing not to park there today. I guess I'm just wondering if anyone knows the actual scope of the disruption if we were to not pass this evening. And I'm assuming that the city is receiving revenue for those 250 leases. And how does that factor into all of this?
I can tell you anecdotally, I went over on a couple of days, a couple of months ago, just as we talked about the larger parking issue, and there were 200 plus cars in the garage. It was roughly 200 cars in the garage.
And to the revenue, I would say the revenue helps us with the maintenance, but it's not likely to cover what the actual expenses are to maintain these garages over the long term.
Members,
Yeah, I just have a
Member
question,
Bosley.
follow-up question. Do we feel that 250 at least covers the request for 80,000? No, okay.
And that doesn't, again, doesn't include the repairs. I think we're looking at over 100,000, 150,000 for just to repair it.
So I guess I want to come back to Councilmember Ward's point that she made. This is our people's money that we serve. This is inevitable plank that we're on here. I mean, there's going to come a day when there's no more parking there. When do you draw that line? And I'm just interested in a little bit more context as to why this was brought to us today, the value proposition of making this investment as another stopgap.
So I'll try and explain that and you guys can jump in if you want. So the ultimate goal was to get this into early 2026, when hopefully we will have an agreement in place with Connect Transit and other parking options available. Right now, we don't have site control over anywhere close to 250 parking places or the number that they may need. So, by 2026, we will have the front and center building down. That'll be surface parking. We're working with other entities to develop other site-controlled parking that will be city parking, but we do not have any of that in place right now. So the idea is to keep that garage open and safe and viable at least through early 2026.
Other members? Member Lee?
Yeah, so hearing about the leases, does the city have any contractual obligations with these leases? I assume that these are signed leases that have been agreed to and.
I believe they are month to month. So, we could, on a lot of them, but Billy, do you have information on that?
Some of them are, I know at least one grouping that is actually part of a redevelopment agreement. And it does state that if, in the event that something happens, I believe, that you have to find parking elsewhere, but they're part of a redevelopment agreement that's longer than month to month. Some of them are.
Member Ward, or I'm sorry.
Just
Member Lee.
a question then. Does the city have any contractual obligations to keep this open?
I think we could work around any obligations. We might have to give notice. We might have to move some people to some other garages. But if the council, opted to, instead of putting more money into this, going ahead and shutting down the garage, we would figure out how to address that and figure something out to accommodate that.
Member Ward?
Yeah, I have a question. As it currently stands, this $80,000 plus would go for creating a design. How long a time period would that be?
I don't have the timeline on the design. Most of this is for the monthly inspections, which is about 52,000 of this 80. So the design is 15,000. But I think it's supposed to be a pretty quick turnaround so that they can get the repairs done if that was approved.
Are we talking days, weeks, months?
I would say weeks.
And I would also say it will not be the full 52,000 if we don't go a full year. This is presuming that we go to keep it open a full year, so it will be less than
I think
that.
it's 9 months, yeah.
Other members with comment?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
With that,
Sure.
how long does it, with the, once we find out what the repairs are and things like that, what is that? Is that weeks to do the repairs? How long is the garage closed? And is that a process that's already bidded out to who it's going to go to?
It has not been bidded out. It's an emergency procurement right now, you know, the paperwork being done. They don't intend to close the garage during the repairs. It would be certain areas they would close off during those repairs. So they don't intend to close it completely. But it would be probably weeks, you know, different stages.
Other members? Just one quick question, Mr. Jurgens, in regards to, you mentioned site control, and outside of the police for site control and enforcement there, is there any other responsibilities of the city? And the reason I bring this up is it appears to me that in my travels recently around that particular area, that those that may be unsheltered seem to be conjugating in the area of the Market Street Garage much more often than I've noticed in the past couple months. Are we responsible in any way as far as enforcement outside of just the police?
If I understand your question, you know, if they're if there's a homeless individual or an unhoused individual that's blocking the sidewalk or the garage or something like that, then we would move them or ask them to relocate. But we do have people that will kind of stay around there and loiter and things like that. And legally, there's limited things we can do for that. So I'm more talking about in terms of site control, you know, fixing, you know, having actual parking spaces that we can move people to. A lot of the businesses, the downtown visitors that are currently parking at that location are going to have to find other places to park. So that's what we don't necessarily have all wrapped up at this point.
I just wanted to add to muddy the water with, if you approve the downtown streetscape, that's also going to cause some parking issues that I believe Billy is working through, but that will add even more cars that we're trying to relocate.
Any other members with questions or comment? Okay, if not, Madam Clerk, I think we have a motion.
You do, you have,
Or second it, if you take the vote, please.
that's correct. Yep. Go ahead and do it electronically. It was Councilmember Hendricks as the motioner and Scott as the seconder. All right, and if I could call the nays, Councilmember Montney, Councilmember Straza, Councilmember Ward.
Thank you very much. On to the regular agenda now. If you would, Manager, give us a report or background regarding the item for action on the regular agenda, please. Number 9.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. I'm excited tonight to bring this item back before the council for consideration. When we brought this before back in May, the item with the recommendation of staff was to reject the bid and to work with the low bidder and see if we could not come to a more reasonable scope of work and contract price. I want to thank staff for all of their hard work in doing this, and for the contractor Stark Excavating for also rolling up their sleeves and helping find a solution to this. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy City Manager Billy Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Manager, Mayor and Council. Lance, if you will load the presentation, please. Thank you. And so you have before you tonight several items for consideration as part of this overall streetscape project. And I kind of want to walk through what the project is very generally for folks and then talk about where we are. Next slide, please. The other thing I want to say is that we have with us Jim Karch, who is our Director of Engineering, and then Mike Sewell, who has been the project principal from CMT, who has worked diligently. Both of them have worked diligently on this project. in addition to others. So what is the project? I know most of you are aware, but for those who are not, it's a downtown multi-phase, multi-year project that is going to bring a new look and feel and energy to our downtown. But it also is really going to build upon all the great things that are happening in our downtown. We have a fantastic history there, but I think that there are people who don't know all the things that are offered throughout our downtown. So as you talk about the physical improvements, there will also be a building upon all the things that are happening and letting people know them. Next slide. So what is the project? If you look down Main, it is worked out, will narrow streets and widen the sidewalks. If you've ever driven that street, it's a really wide roadway right now. How do we make this downtown more walkable, but also supportive of vehicles? It will create a situation where there is opportunities for outdoor dining. Next slide, please. Outdoor dining and places for outdoor events, allowing people to, again, spend more time in our downtown and create a destination for it. Next slide. With streetscape, a big part of it is creating outdoor gathering spaces that are also functional. This is the area as proposed in front of the Brass Pig and other restaurants in the area. You know, we're going to create a space, if approved, that allows for parking, but also allows for outdoor events. It allows for you to be able to go down and see a concert or put on a small concert, to do a bags tournament, to do other things, and creating spaces that are destinations for people to want to come both locally and from other communities too. Next slide. Again, we've talked a lot about, it will bring about new sidewalks and new lighting and new landscaping, but also there are other physical improvements that are creating those spaces that are destinations. In and around the square, we talk a lot about that, allowing for concerts, allowing for digital displays, et cetera, et cetera. Next slide, please. But for all of that, at its core, this project is an infrastructure project. 76% of the dollars that would be spent on this phase, if approved, would be for infrastructure. It would be adding water main and water main work. It would be removing lead service line. It would be adding fiber. It would be adding stormwater drainage. I know all of you are fans and supporters of infrastructure improvements for sure, but I single out Councilmember Ward in that she's talked a lot about the drainage that would go underneath the area near the Brass Pig, because it will not only support the downtown, but it will also support the areas of the West End and also in the Central City that experienced some of the catastrophic, and I'll use that name, catastrophic flooding from 2022. Some of this drainage work that's in that top left-hand corner will help with that. Next slide, please. How do we get here? How do we get to the design that has been created? In our opinions, there was significant public input. We've had a steering committee made up of both downtown businesses and downtown residents, but also representatives of organizations throughout our community. We worked with community partners to design this thing. We worked with the county. We worked with IDOT. We talked a lot with utility companies, advocacy groups like LifeSil and others to come up with a design that we felt like worked. Lots of public meetings, lots of speaking appearances, making the rounds with some of the service groups. And we had a significant web presence. I think it's worth mentioning on this slide, the fact that the Downtown for Everyone website has seen 62,000 views to date since it started, which as it relates to typical government projects, that's a big number. And we're actually proud of the input that we were able to get. Next slide. So where are we tonight? As the manager mentioned, as you know, the original bids for this project, we had one bidder, and it came in significantly higher than what we thought at $18.6 million. Council rejected the bid and directed staff, allowed staff to go back and negotiate with that bidder. We worked tirelessly, I'll say that. And I think at this point, I do want to mention the fact that Mike Sewell with CMT spent countless hours working on how do we get to something that works. Jim Karch, the same thing, our director of engineering, and I specifically also want to mention Phil Allen, who was part of Jim's staff. Those three guys did a yeoman's job in addition to others to try and get to a number that worked. At the end of the day, we all rolled up our sleeves, Stark included, and who was our principal, the bidder, and we're able to identify $4.8 million in total reductions from the original bid. which is regardless of what happens tonight, is a big number. And that is a big reduction. And we did it in a way that we try to identify reductions that would not cheapen the project or reduce it from what people expected. And we think we've arrived at something that does that. Next slide. So how are we getting to that reduction number? I think the manager sent you updates in terms of categories of where those reductions are seen. Through negotiations, we were able to talk with Stark. And again, before I go any further, I also want to second the manager's words about Stark. And they came to the table ready to have a real conversation. They understood the importance of this project to this community, and they rolled up their sleeves and sharpened their pencils as well. So we appreciated that. We're able to negotiate some things that were originally bid that we're not going to have to do anymore. As an example, things like there were washout basins that were going to be costly. We were able to come to an agreement to allow Stark to sweep the streets, which seems like a simple thing, but it's not. It's a big thing. There were several things like that we were able to negotiate. There were areas where we're going to be able to use other contractors as part of existing agreements to see some reductions. The city's going to do some work on our own. I want to specifically thank our Parks Department. If approved, they will be able to go in and do the landscaping work and do some of the bench work. Our Public Works and engineering teams will also be doing some of the work. Engineering and specifically outside of this contract, and I don't want to muddy the water, they're going to do some of the work observation, which is saving us $1 million over what we would have had to pay. And again, scope adjustments. As I talk about not wanting to cheapen or lessen the project, we are suggesting some changes to what is proposed, but there are things in our opinion that don't lessen the look or feel of the project. They don't lessen the infrastructure investment. And they're things that are really probably not going to be noticeable to anyone, but they are resulting in significant cost reductions. As an example, we talk about reducing the decorative globe lighting that had been proposed. They were decorative. That's not impacting the other lighting that we're putting in. They were lights that, while would have been nice to have, in the grand scheme of things, as we're trying to reduce costs and still have a quality project, probably won't hurt the project at all. And there are other things where we're able to do that kind of thing as well. Those scope adjustments are roughly $1.7 million. Next slide, please. So how do you pay for it in the event that this project moves forward tonight, and we hope it does? We were fortunate to be able to be granted a $2 million grant from the state staff, wrote that grant and applied for it and is receiving it. $1.6 million of this will be paid from enterprise funds. As you talk about the infrastructure work, some of the direct infrastructure work, there are some of this work that is direct water, direct sewer, and the like. So from enterprise funds, $10.3-ish million in reserves. I know that the slide said that the original projection was $9 million. And when we say projection, probably a better way to describe that is that the budget placeholder was $9 million. That $9 million was not based on we thought it would cost $9 million because the actual estimate from 2024 was higher than that. But we wanted you to know that the budget placeholder we had was $9 million. At the end of the day, and I'm being careful here because I don't want to seem as though I'm parsing numbers, but at the end of the day, the local total cost is just $177,000 higher than what the April master plan estimated that it would be. And what that means is that we're taking into account that $2 million state grant. And at the end of the day, we estimated that the cost would be $12.9 million. But when you take the grant into consideration, the local out-of-pocket dollars are just, and I say just, $177,000 higher than what we thought it would be. It's not much more than what we would thought it would be as it relates to what we would be paying. Next slide, please. Timeline. If this is approved, hopefully you can see the slide there. Work would start in the second half of 2025, which is really, they would start some staging probably later in the month, but some of the work starting in potentially in August, September. Next stages, as you can see on the slide, in 2026 and into 2027. There would be other output to be done as it relates to talking to downtown businesses, some of the bar owners and others, in terms of timing, making sure that they're aware of what's happening. We're also, as Sue mentioned, having conversations with private lot owners about leasing space so that when some of these areas are torn up, there is other public parking to take place of that, trying to lessen the impact as best we can to some of the downtown businesses. Next slide, please. One of the things that you've probably heard from downtown businesses and others is the conversation about the bike lane versus parking. It's a decision that we will bring forward to you at a later date. It doesn't impact tonight's agreement. We plan to do some public output and have a public meeting that I think Jim Karch will have some more details on tonight. Just to go back to the downtown folks one more time to talk to them about that. So more to come on this item. There's not been a decision made as of yet. Next slide. And again, this is, if you can see this, just to show you that we're seriously considering that question. This is a rendering that CMT did to show what things could look like if we went back to parking or if we did the flex lane, flex/bike lane. Next slide, please. And with that, on the screen, you can see a map of what the phasing for future projects are in the event that you decide to go forward tonight. We think we have a good plan. We think we were able to get to a place where we were able to reduce costs enough to where this is something that we can afford. We've talked very closely with our finance department. It's something that is affordable. Again, it's not out of line in terms of what we would be paying directly from what we thought we would be paying. Even though the costs are higher, I acknowledge that. But it's not out of line with what we thought we would be paying a year ago. And that was actually based on 2024 dollars. If you adjust for inflation, actually we would be under what we thought we would be paying if you adjust those dollars for inflation. So with that, we would be glad to take any questions. And I'm sorry, before that, Jim, can you speak to the public input portion of in terms of how we would go forward with that?
If we could go back really quick to the slide on the bike/flex lane versus parking, just wanted to highlight for you, we are trying to be proactive and tonight announce when the public meeting would be. We're looking to have the public meeting Thursday, July 31st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. in the basement of the BCPA, that ballroom area. And we'd be doing this in partnership with Director Cordero Patrick and his team, and so that we would be able to reach out and get additional input on what the desires would be for the impacted stakeholders. So we thought it'd be important tonight to announce that meeting. It's just over 2 weeks away, gives us the ability to really push that, let people know about it, also gather input, but get something back, a recommendation back to the council quickly. Keep in mind, though, we have time. The flex lane/parking lane does not have to be decided until the spring of 2026, but we do want to start that process so we have enough time to get significant input.
On July 31st.
July
What time?
31st. So at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you.
Thursday, July 31st. I'll say it one more time. My apologies. Thursday, July 31st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And more information will be coming both to the elected and the impacted stakeholders later this week.
Thank you. City Manager.
Nope, we'd be glad to take any questions.
All right, and we will do that. We will start with Member Mosley.
Okay. Can I just ask you, I know you and I talked about it for the record earlier, we talked a little bit about the fiber conduit. Won't have any impact to the business owners down there, right? It would just be, as I think you mentioned to me, just private fiber opportunities to build a connection if they want to invest, but no impact to our business areas, right?
That is correct. And a couple of things related to that. The fiber ring that Councilmember Mosley references was part of some of the original drawings. There was a cost estimate of that costing roughly $330,000 for the conduit for that. Not the fiber, but the conduit, but it would be for, in the event that businesses wanted to come, fiber providing businesses, and install fiber for private use. And it would allow for that fiber to go to handholds, not even into the buildings. So we thought that all things considered and all of the unknowns related to instituting something like that, this was something that could be reduced as part of the project. And I think it's also worth mentioning, there is currently some private fiber in the downtown already.
And the reason that I asked is because I was just making sure that when I say no impact, it's not that our business areas won't have fiber, it's market opportunities, and they won't be breaking up the ground after the fact if we didn't put this in. So we're going to be fine there, right?
That is correct.
Member Hendricks.
Yeah, I'll keep my comments pretty brief because I'm sure most people know where I feel on this. I just want to thank city staff for all the work and to Mike for the work that he's been doing. I really appreciate, Billy, you bringing up that 76% of this plan is infrastructure. This is not luxury. This is ADA accessibility. This is sidewalks. This is replacing century-old pipes under the ground. It's helping other areas of our community on the west side with flooding. And it's something that's going to pay generational dividends. So I very much strongly support this plan. The big thing that I'll say again and again and again is the communication factor with downtown and with the larger community as far as where can you park when this parking is closed, speaking with those businesses to make sure that they are on, they're aware of what's happening and they're communicating out along with us about what's happening, because we've seen other things, right? We've seen these plans come forward, and the fact that we're here and actually taking action and not just blowing more hot air of a new plan that we approved unanimously, and tonight we get to actually take the action and make it happen. I just want to make sure, because our reputation's on the line, your reputation's on the line, to make sure that this goes smoothly and is something that we can all really be proud of after. So thank you.
Member Motney.
So I have, most of my questions actually relate to what's not going to be done as a result of us doing this project. So, and first of all, I'd like to ask again, the value of the in-house labor that you are directing toward this project?
Lance, can you go back to the slide that showed how the things that were reduced, please? Keep going. Keep going. So the value of the in-house labor as it relates directly to the contract is $700,000. The other thing that I will mention is that typically with this type of project, you have to have construction observation, which we estimated to be another $1 million. Before we got to the bid stage, our engineering department graciously agreed to be able to provide that, which is saving us another $1 million.
So, I mean, just to again understand, when you say graciously agreed to, I mean, we're talking about fixed overhead that presumably already has full-time jobs that we're going to redirect to this. And what I'm really trying to understand is what are the impacts going to be to other work that would be done by Parks and Rec, by Public Works, both of which were mentioned. And context for this, I learned on June 18th, for example, that we're 5 years behind in sidewalk repairs. In looking at our own PASER rating systems, I understand our road conditions overall have continued to deteriorate in the last few years. And when I go down the line of thinking about the things that I get called about and the specifics of thoughts that we had a year ago to insource work, that could help offset external costs, which resulted in the acquisition, for example, of a paver machine that I understand is not currently being used. I'm trying to figure out, in all of these things where we're paying out of enterprise funds, when we're redirecting labor that already is full-time obligated for other opportunities too across the city, where will the collateral damage be in work that will not be done as a result? Is that making sense how I'm asking that question?
I definitely understand the question. I will tell you a couple of things. One, we had various conversations with the department to make sure that they had the capacity to do this work. And we said to them, if you don't, it's just not something that we could put on you. They have said to us and assured us that they do. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that and I know you know this, we're a large organization accustomed to doing many things at once. And this is something that we feel as though we're able to take on. and to do in-house. And again, it was some of the park stuff as an example, some of the parks work as an example is related to things that they do in the everyday course of their work. So they do landscaping throughout the downtown and throughout the city. So this is something that they're able to take on.
And do you have recorded somewhere, and if not, I would ask that this be put together, a detailed listing of the accumulated value of all of our deferred maintenance, some of which we've just talked about, the storm inlets that I understand are remaining to be unrepaired, over 100 of them since the 2021 flooding. I was stopped by a staff member actually to say that there's starting to be deterioration with the seating in the Coliseum, and that the chairs themselves in the Coliseum are discontinued, and that could bring to bear significant cost. I'm not asking you to answer these questions in the moment, but if this is passed tonight, I'm asking that we stop initiating new work and inventory all of the deferred maintenance that we have across the city and put a pencil to it to understand exactly what the cost of all of that accumulated work is. Because I perceive it to be significant when I'm hearing things like we're 5 years behind at this, our streets are deteriorating, and we're not gaining ground toward their overall condition improvement, et cetera. I think that's super important.
Understood.
I want to compliment Mike Sewell. I think he has done a fantastic job on this project. He has been very responsive to questions that I've had. Certainly has been a role model in this. I did send in to the city some suggestions from research that I did to an alternative to the brick pavers in this project. Brick pavers, which bring legacy operating overhead for additional maintenance beyond what we have today. There's a technique being used in other locations called inlaid thermo, which is supposed to be an outstanding opportunity for visual appeal that doesn't bring with it the legacy maintenance cost, and it doesn't cost as much to install. I provided that information to the city on May 10th. Along with some pictures, and I haven't received a response to that. So again, as we're looking at this particular project as well, the next question I have for you is define infrastructure.
I would say, and I'll look to Jim and Mike as it relates to that. I would say it's those things that people traditionally think of. It is water mains, it is lead service lines, it is stormwater drainage, it's also road work. And I will say that it's street repair. If you've ever driven through our downtown, there is a significant need for the roadways to be repaired. It's sidewalk repair. It's other things. I don't know if Jim or Mike, I'm missing anything.
There we go. Yes, absolutely, Billy. It is those things. It does include, Councilmember Montney, it includes the clay pavers. I will tell you that as part of our investigation of where can we save some money, we thought about what if we just got rid of the clay pavers and just went with traditional concrete paving, for example. And we were looking at the unit costs that we got. We thought, we're not going to save any money at all here. We may as well use what we do believe to be the superior product in terms of longevity, in terms of keeping its colors, in terms of absolutely creating the look and feel that we're hoping to accomplish downtown. So yeah, there's a lot of combined sewer separation, the detention. I was actually very surprised and pleasantly so when I crunched the numbers to find out how much of this actually is going to infrastructure. It feels, you've seen the renderings when you look at just what a dramatic quality of life experience this is going to create. It was surprising to me that, yeah, these are real infrastructure dollars that are going to this project predominantly.
Was the thermo inlay costed out as an alternative?
It was something that our traffic engineer, we had actually did look at, and actually we had not had the positive experience in some of the way places we had done the thermal. So actually that's a technique that we have used in the city for some of our different uses, and it has actually had issues with longevity and peeling and not lasting the length of time that we had thought it would. And I would, any corrections need to be made, our traffic engineer, Phil Allen, who did a great job on that.
That's
is here.
okay. I will say it is in use at the very significant climate situation similar to ours in the Wallet Hub, #1 rated city in the US. So there are places out there that certainly have successfully used that. The last point I would just make is that, I have notes from when I wrote in April of 2024 to ask about the condition of the current infrastructure that we're talking about replacing. And in some of the cases, while we are touting that this is important for the future, and I understand how important this is, and this is one of those circumstances where I really, really want to support this. I feel that there could have been opportunities for additional cost containment beyond what we've talked about, and I'm very uncomfortable about the backlogs of the other things that I've mentioned. Those things need to be addressed before we initiate any more studies, consulting projects, ideas for new things to buy. We really need to inventory all of the deferred maintenance that we have and that we can project to come into the near future. When I wrote in and asked and got those questions answered, much of the infrastructure work that we're doing, I was advised at that time was in good condition and not subject to the IEPA consent order as it relates to the sewers. I just want to put that out there for the record, just to know that while we are saying in the message points, the percent that is infrastructure, some of this is by choice. And yes, it will be beneficial to the community in the future. But everything that we do has an opportunity cost, and we need to start thinking about things and evaluating things with opportunity cost also in mind. So thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Clerk, we're going to go to extended time for the council for further comments on a
Okay.
vote.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
I'd move that we take another 10 minutes.
Second. Second by Member Mosley.
All right, I'll just call it.
The roll.
Councilmember Kearns?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley?
Yes.
Councilmember Motney?
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Straza?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Scott?
Yes.
Thank you.
Member Ward.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment about infrastructure. I can't let this go by. I'm very pleased to hear that nearly 3/4 of this project, more than 2/3 of this project, is related to infrastructure. And we talk about deferred infrastructure issues. I don't know how much more deferred we can get than talking about the work on sewers and the impact that this will have on neighborhoods west of here. We've been talking, it was actually 19 or 20, 19, probably 1921 too, but the flood was in 2021. So it's been 4 years since we've been talking about the impact of those floods and deferring that, frankly. And I am ready for us to get with it. And it's exciting to see that most of this, like a significant most, not 51% most, but like a significant part of this is stuff that we need to be doing, have to be doing, should have been doing already. This isn't nice to have. This is essential. And I'm ready for us to get a move on with this. So I'm going to move that, sorry if I'm stealing your thunder, it's your ward, but I'm still going to move that we approve this.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Member Ward and a second by Member Hendricks on the floor. Is there any other comments from members?
I just,
I'm
real
sorry,
quick,
Member
I don't
Sprout.
know if we still
Yes.
able to make comments. No, I just want to, again, real quick, thank Mike and Jim for all the stuff you've done. The staff has been good. I'm glad we really focus on that. Is 76% of this is infrastructure. A lot of people are not going to ever see the underground, the pipes, the water. I don't want continual failure of anything happening that would be catastrophic in the future. We did see something that was pretty bad in 2021. And this is great. This is addressing something that is needed and has been needed for a very long time. So I think it's important. I wish the cost was less, but I think the reality is we need to move forward with something that we've been talking about for a very, very long time before I even became on this council. And I just want to see us to move forward and we start making up for some lost time that we can't get back.
Member Motney?
I agree with that comment. I agree with many of the comments that have been made this evening. What I'm asking for is the same degree of passion toward the years that we are behind in other areas, including things that are related to that June 21st, June 2021 event. We've got a lot of work to do at a detail level to really understand what our current cost structure is from a deferred maintenance standpoint. And it's not just limited to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members with questions or comments?
I just want to
Go ahead,
echo
Member Lee.
Councilmember Motney's concerns because last week I did meet with a neighborhood association in my ward where their sewers are starting to sink and the concrete's starting to fail around those sewers, causing some issues and concerns around maybe sinkholes forming and things like that. So there are areas that need attention. So I just don't want those other areas to continue to be forgotten. I know this is important and it's front and center, but the other issues that Councilmember Motney is bringing forth is important to the rest of the city as well. So I just don't want to lose sight of that.
Thank you. Other members, comments? I'm sorry. Was there a question? Deputy City Manager Tyus, anything else?
Just thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all, but question for you, or anyone that can answer this. If this is to pass tonight, and if we move forward in what's been negotiated with Stark and others, and if the proposal of absorbing some of this work by city staff, parks, or I'm sorry, public works, engineering, whatever the case may be, is there any idea timetable wise when that type of responsibility would shift from any contractors and shift back to city employees, meaning next year, time of year, anticipated winter, summer, peak time that we do things from city works around here for our city? Is there any proposal or ideas that have been time frame wise discussed?
It's a great question. Some of it we don't know is it will be related to the schedule of when the contractor, their timing. Some of it, as it relates to like the parks work, would most likely be nearing the end of the phase. So when you're doing landscaping planning and some of the installation of benches will be near the ending of this first phase. So that's probably in, and guys, tell me when that is.
So just in this vein, just a really big thanks to Director Veal, Assistant Director Lamb, even Superintendent Hinman. They met out on site. We walked it. Parks, what they'd be looking to do is, again, just as Senior Deputy City Manager Tyus had just said, after each phase, they don't want to conflict with the contractor. They want to come in after the contractor's done, but they will have to maybe do some intermediate things. This is, Eric can correct me at any point. You raise your hand, but whenever those times come in, if they're going to be bringing in soil or sometimes to fill in different areas or planters, they may have to come in and put in some soil just to make sure nobody hurts themselves in that way. But they want to make sure they're clear. Their folks can come in. They helped with the design of the plantings. They helped with some of the layout. So they're very familiar with it. Their crews are very able to do this work and will do a tremendous job. These are the same men and women who will be maintaining this long term. So there is benefit with that as well.
So in other words, it's an unknown variable and nobody really knows.
after each phase, a lot of it will be completed after they're done with each phase.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I
Yes.
would suggest that while the efforts might not be exactly uniformly distributed across the whole 2025 to 2027, I think that it roughly will be. There's not going to be a single point in time where all the parks people have to give 3 months to work on anything. There's going to be some removals that they do early on, and to Billy's point about coming in and doing landscaping towards the end, we've got 4 different phases. So they'll come in at the end of the first one and do some landscaping there. They'll come in at the end of the second phase. While city staff could definitely answer this question better than I definitely feel that there's not going to be one big push that occupies city forces.
Thank you both. Anyone else from the council? I believe we have a motion that's been seconded on the floor, and we'll go ahead and take the vote. Okay.
No nays or
Pass.
outs.
Yes. Thank you very much. On to the next item then on the agenda to be city managers discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. And Lance, if you could pull my report up and go to the next slide. Fortunately tonight, and as the community is aware, late last Wednesday, we had the historic church building at 411 East Mulberry collapse unexpectedly. On Friday, under the city code, section 16-405, I authorized an emergency demolition contract with Stark Excavating after our staff got solicited some bids on this to address the immediate safety concerns. This incident will likely be a very costly cleanup. We're doing the contract on a times and material basis. We're actively working with the owner of the property and their insurance company to help determine coverage and next steps. But we do anticipate this is going to be a costly demo and repair. You can see in some of the pictures, and these were taken earlier today, that they have done a lot of work. There were some walls that were still in the process of collapsing, so we had to get in there early and make sure that the building did not fall out onto the streets and into the neighboring properties and instead fell in. We might not ever know the reason for this collapse. I think there's some people who suspect the heavy rains earlier in the week played a major toll in that. That seems to be a likely scenario. Have talked to a lot of people in the community about this. Earlier today, I talked to the son of one of the ministers of this church. He moved here in 1975. He grew up in the church, got married in the church, baptized in the church. Told me that back in 1902, which I guess is when the building was, where the church was started, that they purchased an organ for $5,000 that was still in that church. A lot of memories, a lot of things that were lost in this. And so we mourn for the lost history, but we are certainly very, very glad that nobody was injured in the church and that there was no loss of life associated with this. But under the code, I did need to report that we are doing an emergency demolition of this building. Next slide. A little happier note, wanted to just share thanks to the Parks and Rec Department for putting on a great 4th of July at Miller Park and throughout the community. We had about 11,300 visitors to the park. That was up about 13% over last year. So that's a good number for us to know. And then also they had one of their largest car crew celebrations that they've ever had with over 80 automobiles in attendance. So really appreciate it. It takes a lot of work out of our Parks and Rec Department. Next year, we will be celebrating our 250th as a country. So we'll have conversations about if we want to see the same type of celebration or if we'll maybe want to up the game a little bit, but we'll have more conversations on that. But wanted to thank our Parks and Rec Department for that. Next slide. Wanted to give a quick update to the community on Hamilton Road. The first phase of this, which goes to it's the green up there and goes to the railroad, is about 50% done. We're slightly ahead of schedule. Expect the completion date to be end of September, and we are on budget, so we're very excited about that project. Phase 2, which is the red portion and arguably the larger and the major portion of this extension, is out for bid right now. The due date for those bids is August 1st. That will potentially start this fall with a completion date by the end of 2026. Next slide. Want to share with the community that we are continuing to do important upgrades with our water. We are going to invite our water director, Ed Andrews, to a future meeting to give us an overall update, but the testing and the numbers continue to look very positive. One of the things that Ed Andrews is doing that we're really appreciative of is increasing the frequency for changing out our filters. The picture on the left up here is a picture of what they're doing now. I think it was 4 filters that they recently replaced. These aren't just like filters you replace at your home air conditioning unit. These are big, major filters, and the frequency we were finding that they needed to be replaced more frequent. That's going to help with some of the issues we had experienced, but things are going very well with the water right now, and we'll get an update from Ed Andrews in the future. Next slide. And finally, just again, want to say my thanks to Carol Morna with the Center for Prevention of Abuse. Also want to thank our staff. Tara Henry from our Human Resources Department helped coordinate all of the trainings, which were at no cost from the center, but we had about 474 employees trained through this process. And when you step back and think about it, we are really the eyes and the ears of this community, and we have employees all over. So it makes sense, and the training helped us see what we need to be looking for as city staff when we're out within the community, where maybe we can identify and help save a life and help get somebody out of human trafficking. So really appreciate that, and it's an honor to be the first community that's been certified and trained in this. Also want to give a shout out. This started under my predecessor, City Manager Tim Gleason, who introduced us to Carol, and she is now a dear friend to the city, and we contact her all the time with questions and appreciate her assistance. So with that, I have nothing else, Mayor. Just want to say thanks once again.
Thank you very much. And for my brief discussion, I'd like to point to July the 9th, and that was the Dr. Charles Morse Jr. Street dedication, which was in the area of Erickson and Euclid in West Bloomington, attended by the doctor's widow, Jeannie, and her family members that were there, as well as many others that were here in council chambers tonight, and all his years of dedicated work in the area of public higher education, as well as many other causes within our community. So it was a very nice event, and thank you to our Department of Engineering for being there and putting that together. Another recent groundbreaking was July the 10th, which many of us here were at the dedication for the Home Sweet Home Mission Bridge project, which is broke ground, as I said, on July the 10th for the housing of the unsheltered project here in our community, as well as a ride-along program that I did on July the 12th with the Bloomington Police Department, and that was Chief Jamal is in back. Thank you for setting that up, Chief. But it was really Sergeant Jones and Officer Hilliard that I was part of with their team. And I think the chief also had some interns that were here, but they probably got too much government tonight and they decided they would go. In any event, thank you for all that, and thanks to the dedicated officers. And I will note that it was very interesting in a number of the calls that we responded to, the percentage of what seemed to be kind of the common denominator of some mental illness issues that precipitated was something that was eye-opening to me. So thank you again to our police department, all of our dedicated public servants. And that concludes my report. Any members of the council that has any questions or comments they'd like to share? Okay. Reward.
Yeah, not to drag things out, but it's been really great to see the lines at O'Neill Aquatic Center and how enthusiastically the community is embracing that facility. It's been wonderful in this hot weather to have that available to us, and so I think that it may take a minute to get the right weather, but people really are appreciating that. I also am quite grateful for the work that was done to put the new playground equipment in on the north side of White Oak Park. And hopefully if you come out for the popsicle event at White Oak Park, you can see that in person.
Do you have a date on the popsicle event? Everybody likes popsicles.
We just heard it, right?
Did we?
It
Okay.
was one of the
July 20th.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. If not, then we're going to, I'm going to ask that we move to executive session. And at this point, would need a motion to enter into executive session per section 221 of section 5 of the Illinois compiled statutes to review minutes. And so if there's a motion.
I'll make that motion.
And if I could have a second, that was from Member Hendricks, seconded by Member Straza. Clerk, if you call the roll.
Yes, Councilmember Kearns,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney,
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger,
Yes.
Councilmember Straza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Scott.
Yes.
Thank you very much. The council is entering executive session per the section of 221(5) of the state statutes. The room must be cleared. Following executive session, council will resume the open session meeting and no additional action will be taken except to adjourn. So
He gave us the thumbs up.
Thumbs up?
I'm
A motion?
to motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by member Dannenberger. Then that will.
And
Go
I'll
ahead.
just
Sorry,
call it really
clerk.
quick.
Take the
Councilmember
vote.
Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Mosley,
Yes.
Councilmember Motney, Councilmember Dannenberger.
Yes.
Councilmember Straza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Yes.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Councilmember Lee,
Yes.
Councilmember Scott.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Then that will conclude the meeting of the Bloomington City Council. Thank you all for your work. Good rest of your evening.